an hour and 20 something minutes. And I have so much videos to share. And there's one video that I recorded the other day. The audio is not working. I need to get the audio because it was a good informative video. Okay, at this point, people still claiming there is an invisible Netflix crew following Harry and Meghan around seem legitimately unhinged. Okay, invisible. There's a laugh. The only Netflix documentary is on the Invictus game. Yep. They've never planned to do one on their personal lives. The British media made the entire things up.
That's sort of the flawed argument and its operating mechanism, that they're confusing people to think. So it's about boundaries and it's about respect. They've created a false narrative.
Something crazy like 15,000 mentions of them online every day. So they are, particularly Duke and Duchess of Sussex, a really big business for the tabloids. And then we all know about negativity bias and how bad news, negative headlines tend to do better online, which is a really sort of unattractive part of the algorithms that are used. So I think all of that feeds into the coverage.
They don't report the news, they create it. And they've successfully turned fact-based news into opinion-based gossip with devastating consequences.
That's why it brings them money to talk nonsense. And this is why Harry cannot deal with them. Okay, but so what if they did choose to do one about their life? They can do as they please. Camilla, the commoner, ex-mistress, has done one. Diana and Charles did one. Even the Queen did one. So why won't the Sussexes if they choose to do? I don't know. It's the media is making a big deal out of it. We know it's nothing. I mean, Harry will have control of what they share with us, but the media is growing out of proportion. But Harry wants that fine line.
And to be honest with you, sadly, that line between public and private life is almost non-existent anymore, and we will continue to do our best to ensure that there is the line. You know, we are completely aware that we're in a very privileged position, and I will spend the rest of my life, you know, earning that privilege and trying to bring a spotlight onto things and causes that really matter to me, and I hopefully matter to a lot of other people as well. Everyone has a right to their privacy, and you know, a lot of the members of the public get it, but sadly in some areas there is this sort of incessant need to find out every little bit of detail about what goes on behind the scenes. It's unnecessary. You know, I hope that people get to see me here in this Invictus role, you know, cracking on with the guys and mucking in and having a good time with them. And this is half my official role, but half my private role. This is what I enjoy doing, but the private life has to be private, and I hope people respect that.
Where there's a private line and there's a public line. So he wants to take us to the public aspect of things. The private remain private for him. But for some reason, they don't want to listen to Harry. I don't know. They're making their nonsense, and people seem to be buying the nonsense the tabloid keeps on spewing out. Okay, but that's that. If they are, at least the Sussexes are doing something meaningful to be filmed. The others, not so much. In fact, it will be great. Well, when they bring their things to be take pictures, like the brother, I spoke about it, where you work smart, or how did I call it? Working smarter versus working harder. You have Harry, who wants to help charity. All he had to do on weekends, just play polo for a couple hours and then raise money for charities. And you have the brothers who's pretending to be helping, stand on a corner for God knows how long, all right, pretending to be selling papers for charities. But whatever. Wants to fool people to get tax money for free. But anyway, you know, this crossed my mind with the Kardashian. When you look at the mother, what's the mother name? I think it's Kris Jenner. Before she rose to fame, I believe she used to work for her parents' company, some clothing store, and then later on she became a flight attendant. And I believe that's where she met the Kardashian. What's the ex-husband? The husband passed away. She met him. So I hear a lot of things on social media, or they make fun of the Kardashian, that whatever nonsense that they're spewing, they don't like them or whatever. But when you look, if you think carefully, you have a mother who worked hard throughout her life, She was a flight attendant. Once she saw how hard she worked, she made things easier for her kids. Maybe it may not be the way I would want to raise my kids, or maybe you would want to raise your kids, but when you look at it, okay, in a very fine perspective, is that her kids are millionaires. They're not depending on anyone, okay? They're not depending on anyone, but she sort of set them up in a way, in a positive way. Then again, you may not like their way of doing business, but they are working smarter, making millions, all right? So she had the brain to set her kids up to be better business people, all right? So I don't know, sometimes a lot of people on social media or in general making fun of them, okay? But they're making things. I think they do reality shows. I don't know if they still do it, because when I had cable, I used to watch it. They're making reality shows, and some of their kids are making products, I don't know, makeup lines, become millionaire, whatever. You guys could look it up, each of those children, what they're doing. But they are millionaires. They're working smarter, and they're making millions. They're not depending on anybody. They're making things that people want to watch. People are complaining, but people are still watching them. So what can you say? I respect her for that. All right? So sometimes we should not go based on the noises that they people putting them down. But when you look at it in a fine way, they're making millions. They're not depending on anybody. All right? So that could just cross my mind. That's all. Let's get back to the original recording. The others, not so much. In fact, it would be grand if they and their kids could just stop putting their faces in front of anything with a lens to highlight privileges, lifestyle, and nothing more. Okay, who are they talking about? The other, Harry's brother? William and Camilla just had TV crews following them, and they had no problem with that. If Harry and Meghan decided at some point in the future that they want to do documentaries showing their work, I will have no problem with that at all. I mean, Harry and Meghan are going to do whatever. Let me do the last one. I need to finish up, and I think my husband is getting ready to go. It's 7:23 right now. Next tweet. And this is my last one, and I'll do, oh shit, I have two more. Let me read this. The royal family was willing to spend millions of pounds to give access to tabloid trash in order to do the rehab Camilla. The royal family was willing to spend millions of pounds and God knows what else to protect Andrew. Meghan was on her own. Why is that? Right. I really think this shows how dated and out of touch the firm was. They had no idea how much damage could be done to their global standing with the way they mismanaged the opportunity they had with Meghan. The world moved on and that family became stale. What is it? Knowing what we know with the guy, the courtier, Young, and Charles, who wanted a weaker courtier who could do as he pleased. So maybe Charles was guiding that guy to do all this stuff and then prevent the flow of information from reaching the queen. So he was doing his own damage when you look at it as well. Okay? When you look at it, the same thing that Harry and Meghan are doing are the kind embodiment of Princess Diana. And who didn't like it? Charles did not like it. So all this, Young could have been the puppet. And remember, Charles expecting people who work for him to lie.
Prince Charles expected his butler to keep visits to Camilla a secret from the princess.
Paul just turned around to him and said, well, are you expecting me to lie for you, Your Royal Highness? And Prince Charles said, well, yes. Yes, I am. And went into this histrionics about being the King of England, the future King of England, the Prince of Wales, and you will lie, stamping his feet, and then threw this book in Paul's direction.
So Charles was the puppeteer, Young was the puppet, okay, being handled by Charles, and then not the information was okayed to not reach the queen because I'm pretty sure one of the senior royals knew of certain information. It's okay for it to not reach the queen.
Have been, as we know, is that the Mail on Sunday had the ruling against them in February, and they were then appealing it. So it was lawyers from the Mail on Sunday who would have approached Jason Naff, knowing that these emails and messages existed. That would have been the point And unless, I mean, the most likely outcome is that Jason obviously would have then gone to William and Kate, and clearly he has cooperated. He would not have cooperated with those lawyers without their definite knowledge.
Through all of the articles that I read, this is how I'm putting it together. All right? Charles and Andrew fired the good courtier that was protecting the institution, looking out for the Queen in a positive way. May not be for me or for the public, but for the institution. He was doing his thing. And that courtier was not taking any BS from Charles. So Charles and Andrew, who wanted things, and the courtier will not allow it, Charles and Andrew put heads together, fired that courtier, and decided to put someone who was weaker to handle. This is 2 articles that I've read, and put Young as the replacement. Now, knowing that security information was not properly managed to give to Harry, okay? And who cut Harry's security? And who cut his money? And who was not picking up his phone? Just put these things together, all right? So the security aspect never reached the Queen. So which means whoever okayed Young, I forgot his name, the last name I think is Young, the courtier, it's okay for it not to reach the Queen, which means one of the senior royal okayed. And the same thing with, the NDA with, what's this guy who was working for Egg and Meghan and who was giving information to Kanoff, that's it, Kanoff, okay, who was okay to address the newspapers. So one of the senior members of the royal family okay Kanoff to give those information to the tabloid, okay, to back the tabloid that Meghan was fighting against. So we could put this perspective in the same way as over here. The security aspect could be in the corner of Charles. All right? Charles caught Harry's phone, then pick up his phone, mention where he was at, took his security away, and then when it's time to give him his security back, they didn't want to give it back. All right? That information never reached the Queen. Okay? So this part, you could say there's a huge possibility, in my humble opinion, through those articles that I've read, you put 1 and 1 together. This part is Charles' part. Okay? So why did I bring this? Why did I bring this? Let me read this over. Maybe my memory will serve me well. Style is a good word. As others have said, racism doesn't really do reason, and Meghan was married to a spare. The firm had no mechanism of realizing the threat she posed, and in 2016, that is just unacceptable. But the thing is that, remember, Harry had to ask permission. Who did Harry ask permission? The Queen. So there's a possibility. I'm going to give the Queen a pass on that. So the Queen did okay that marriage. But once the rest, the future and future knew of the okay, they went to work. There's a possibility in the facade, the Queen said yes, but in the back, aligned with the futures. But I doubt it, because the Queen is very smart, and this, as old as she is, I think she's smart. Knowing that Harry is not really close to in line of the position to be king. You have the son, Charles, he's still living, and then you have William, he's still living, and he has 3 spares. Okay, remember the Queen give okay for a woman to take the spot as well. There's no preferable treatment there. So the line of succession was already in place. So the Queen probably did tell Harry it's okay to marry it, didn't even care about race, because Harry was never in the position, was too far behind in line of succession to be there. So she did okay it. But the others felt like they went out of their way to inflict pain onto Harry to make sure that didn't happen. But instead of stopping, they keep going at it. Each one of them, you have William going out to give tabloid information to to the tabloid about Harry's wife and all of this. And then you have the father who's working in terms of the security and all of that. And I don't know who brought the Meghan's father out of the woodwork to start, or Meghan's family in general, to talk about the woodwork, about Meghan to try to stop the wedding.
Right. So that may have been one of the things that upset her. And of course, the photographs were a setup. I was set up by a guy named Jeff Rayner and another guy named Dylan Howard, who was with American media, I think. And the whole thing was a plan to actually mess up the wedding.
But the Queen probably was the only one who okayed it. But the rest was not aligned to it because due to their deep racism. All right, so that's that. I don't know why I bring all of this. I read this. I don't know why I bring the security and all of that. Okay, maybe when I'm editing, I'll remember. She held a mirror to them, and they hated what they saw, but blamed her for it. Oh, I see what you're saying. Meghan showed them, the royal family, how they are, and then when they realize how bad they are, they blame Meghan for it. It makes sense. Let's read this one more. And revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the war between the Windsor's biographer, Tom Bauer, writes of a shooting weekend at St. James in 2016, soon after Meghan and Harry's relationship had been publicly revealed. Harry had invited 16 friends, mostly old school pals from Eton, with their wives or girlfriends. Bauer writes, quote, like other shooting weekends, Harry was looking forward to endless banter, jokes, and a lot of drinking. Quote, he had not anticipated Meghan's reaction. Their jokes involving sexism, feminism, and transgender people ricocheted around the living room and dining rooms. Quote, without hesitation, Meghan challenged every guest. Oh, really? Wow. If this is true, wow. Without hesitation, Meghan challenged every guest whose conversation contravened her values. So that's why they didn't like her. Maybe that was a test for Meghan as well. Maybe that was a test. What is it? Harry brought Meghan there to test her. But okay, let's read. I'm not going to buy the book, but I'm sure whoever bought the book will be bringing screenshot like this. Quote, according to Harry's friends, again and again, she reprimanded them about the slightest inappropriate nuance. Nobody was exempt. There it is. Okay, Harry's world will not be her world. Some of his friends later discussed their concern about Meghan's wokery. Bauer continues, quote, Meghan was a dampener on the party, they conclude. Meghan was a party pooper. But if you weren't saying stupidity, that's the thing. You're surrounded with stupid people, so you have to put the light on their stupidity. Quote, she lacked any sense of humor. Driving home after Sunday's lunch, the text penned between the cars, OMG, what about her? Said one, Harry must be effing nuts. That's the thing. These people only stay in their bubble. They don't go outside of their bubble to experience other things. Harry has been outside of that bubble to see. Oh my God, this is funny. Okay, I would absolutely love to know what defines the slightest inappropriate nuance to these people. Okay, that they were asking what color the children will be is all you need to know. That's not easy money and power. Charles is solely besotted with Camilla and will do anything in his power for her. Andrew is the Queen's favorite son, and she'll do anything in her power to protect him. Meghan is way down the pecking order. And none with the power or the money cares. So she had to fight for herself. Oh my God, I love this picture of Louis. It's like, yeah. The firm is also anti-woman. That's another thing too. They don't like women, but they want what's between their legs. That's all they want. Okay, they really love to disrespect women. I don't think they care for women. They always blame women, and women are always the main character of their stories of BS. Women are always the bad guys. There's consequences for women, not men. That is true. If you look at what's happening with Roe versus Wade, there's that video that I did, and I read a long thread of a scholar who wrote about, I forgot the name of that person. I'll put the thumbnails of that video. It's worth watching. So this is the mentality of the UK, and then they're still forcing that mentality into the US system. And remember, the US, the political aspect of US originate from the UK. All right, so we're not that far off. All right, there's this, unable to see that one. Okay, she wasn't willing to become household plant like Kent. She wasn't willing to give up her soul to hang with the soulless. She wasn't willing to give up her purpose to play princess in a bubble. They spoke truth to power just like that house plant. Sometimes I call her coat hanger. Okay, actually, I want to stop, but this is so funny. Actually, Meghan is not on her own. They have spent millions of pounds on all type of media trying to destroy her. That's for sure. Well, guess melanin. Okay, that's wild. Yeah, when you think about it, the machinery that they put, and can you imagine Princess Diana was dealing that on her own at her time?
What evidence did you have that their relationship was continuing even though you were married?
A woman's instinct is a very good one.
Is that all?
Well, I obviously had knowledge of it.
From staff?
Well, from people who minded and cared about our marriage, yes.
In a practical sense, how did it become difficult?
Well, people were, when I say people, I mean friends on my husband's side were indicating that I was, again, unstable, sick, and should be put in a home of some sort in order to get better. I was almost an embarrassment.
Do you think he really thought that?
Well, there's no better way to dismantle a personality than to isolate it.
So you were isolated?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
There's social media, there's TVs, there's radios, you name it, all sort of social media platform. They're everywhere trying to bring her down. Okay, when I read Harry talking about going back to the source of trauma to find healing and closure, I partly understood why they might have decided for Meghan to go back to Shutter Island for closure and healing. The last time she was there was really hostile. Okay, racism, there's that, because the Duchess of Sussex is more powerful than our Elizabeth Windsor. I'm still thinking, Meghan, the flower, Meghan. I thought I was done, but I see 2 other tweets here. I want to finish with what I have, because once I leave that list, there's no way I'm going to go back to it. Oh, so that's where this was. There's Dr. Schuller. That was the video I was looking for, I think, in video 1.